So I'm coming on here just to say how I'm proud to be African American, and I also appreciate the history that comes with it. You know that Tyler Perry clip is going viral. Just he's talking about generations passed down and how black people before my generation and even before the next one, how they had to fight like hell to get to where it is today. And I'm very appreciative of my black history, and it's just part of American history. But just the transitions and the stories that didn't get get to be told until later on in life, until I started to become older. All these stories that are being told, all the inventions that were made where people didn't get credit. Um, they give us the shortest month of the year, but it still is Black History Month, and I'm very proud of the heritage and like the background where we come from. It shows that we've always been resilient and we've always fought to like overcome adversity. All of us, every era in history, you've always seen strong black individuals fight for what they believe is right, and they fight for the people. And it always sucks. Let me fix my hair. It always sucks when you see like the right ones that are chosen for the people. They always want to take them out. And legends never die. And not all heroes wear capes. You know, not all heroes wear capes because all these people in American history, they're the real heroes, like Harriet Tubman. You got Frederick Douglass, like during slavery. There's probably so much more people that I'm still learning about that I probably don't know when it comes down to real history. But just even going back to segregation, where these people are still alive, how they had to um, use different water fountains in the back of the bus. Um, you know, Boundaries being broken when you got the first black female going to an all white school and another black female going to an all white high school. You got stories about those people still being alive. The guy who drank from that all white water fountain, he's still being alive. And it going on what about 60 years, 60 to 70 years now. So it's crazy to see the growth. But also going back to what he said in that clip, he is right about us being stripped of like remembering who we are because everything is a distraction. Just like I say in my previous um talks with y'all, like should be a distraction, and like it is definitely designed to make us look bad because they always want us to be at the bottom of the barrel. But once we get out of that mindset about what happened and we can let go, we also have to, it's hard, bro. Like we're trying to show them like, hey, like y'all are not telling the history correctly. Y'all been disrespectful this whole time. And like I always say, it's not technically white people, but the government itself, it's white supremacists. And you got like Hampton, which is another good example to how he was so young and full of ambition, and he was leading his people to the right path, but they silenced him for a reason. You know what I mean? For political reasons. And I hate to say this, but when it comes to black people getting a sense of power, they always want to shut that down. Just like when you got Michael Jackson owning Sony, buying the Beatles in cash, like we all know the story. It's been exposed for so long, but just the power that he had, you don't think they would not want to stop that? So it's a game that's been going on forever and ever and ever and ever. And then I heard how Dick Gregory talked about King Kong actually being like, it's supposed to be like making fun of Jack Johnson. Jack Johnson was one of the greatest boxers back in like the early 20s, bro. And he was a black man, fought in front of crowds of white people, but he was basically one of the best boxers of that time. And he dealt with racial encounters and basically being like the best black boxer in the world in the 20s, bro. And you gotta remember people coming out of niggas like that coming out of slavery. They're technically not free. They still treating them. They're not human. And that's another thing. Just everything that has happened to us, they treat us like we're not human beings. And just the grace and the passion and the forgiveness that we've always chose. But it's just crazy. Even still to this day, how the police is an encounter, how they still hunt us and will still kill us. And not and sometimes the law does their best and people press and people don't listen, but there's also situations where it's on purpose and they that's another way. You got poverty, just it becoming crime related, drug infested, people dying, niggas killing niggas. But y'all gotta remember you gotta think, where does the liquor store come from? Where do these weapons come from? It's not like it just magically appeared. Like they put it there on purpose. It's still a design. Everything we use rap and trap and selling drugs, and we use a strip club. Everything is still a business, but it's not the right way to go about a business at the end of the day, because people's lives are still being taken, and it's still like a never ending nightmare. You know what I mean? But it's still designed, and then I say incarceration mostly, just when it comes to black and Hispanic males, like that's like another term of slavery, just keeping them locked up like that, away from the family, single moms, single father or single kids growing up without their dad or mom. And you got strip club, you got people selling drugs. People that look like me have a higher rate of going to jail compared to somebody who's Caucasian that lives in the suburbs. You know what I mean? And even when it comes to a lot of people who get charged with all these different types of crimes, and it's just like you just gotta pay attention, man. But oops, sorry. But even since the beginning of time, bro, ever since this shit started, it's just like they've done the worst to us, burned us alive, hung us, gotten eaten, raped, just killed. Like they hate us, bro. And I feel like when it comes to black culture, we've turned every tragedy and made it into something beautiful. We show our art through comedy. I feel like comedy, that shit's been around for so long. Even back then, it's probably saved niggas from dying, making people laugh. You got sports, just we all know most niggas just naturally have that ability when it comes to football, basketball, and they already mostly label us like it's either you gotta rap or you gotta play basketball, football. You gotta do something sport related, or it gotta be music. But we do take over. We take over that too. And then when it comes to like, um, what was I gonna say? The music part. So jazz and blues. You gotta remember, bro. I I'm still learning a lot, but me getting older and just doing research over the years, like just educating myself, like we used to do the underground clubs, bro. And if you watch Sinners, that's another good example of how shit used to be when the world started evolving and we started coming out of slavery, and we weren't still equal. It's been a lot of trial and error for us to be able to do what we can today, bro. But I was gonna get back to what I was saying about how, like, you got the Harlem Renaissance, right? They used to do these nightclubs at night. It was all black. When they would play music, drink, everything, but it was all black. It was to where people didn't know. But if you watch Sinners, I feel like that's a great example, kind of what like people were doing back then, going into like everything that's happening now. But definitely, that's where clubs come from. I feel like, just us not being able to be around white people, so we found our own way. But that's where music's, I feel like, came from, like jazz, blues. Hip hop is ours. It's been what, about almost 60 years now, and we turned that into, hip hop was supposed to be like, it was supposed to be like stories that are being told from your personal experience, or people that live in your community, and you're telling all their stories. And some people still do it to this day. You got great certain individuals that paint you a picture of kind of what what it's going through in society. But that's what was it about. And over the past fucking what, like 3 generations now. It's been like 3, 4 generations now, and it's just crazy to see like the impact of what has came behind that. But it's still not enough, you know. And I say that because when it comes to us, we still don't own generational wealth in the long term. When you got people like Walt Disney, Walmart, you got these TV networks like fucking TNT, CBS, people who control the news, like these there's certain individuals that own what we see. And that's why everything is a perception. So you got the government, you got the media, you got television, news. But everything is like power, and it's passed down for family. But we got to get into that to where we start owning the NFL network, having black people in the office in the NBA, because everything's still technically white owned no matter when you go up the ladder. So it's all designed like that on purpose too. And then you got the White House and everything like that. But yeah, man. And a lot of things have happened just like with Kobe. Um I believe, if you ask me personally, he was gonna start his own basketball league in China. And you know the impact that can come behind that. Him being one of the faces of the league, still, even after he's done, he's the closest comparison to MJ. And you know that if he would have did that, you know how many people would have went to go play for him. Just the talent, the freedom, it being black owned. So that's the power I'm talking about. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because like there's been situations that happen to where the media makes certain individuals like me look bad, but it's all a big game because there's always more to the story. But being in my generation of the in between, they've made everything look bad when it comes to like our news. Everything's always has to be like bad when it comes to like our people. They always promote bad shit. It's always shit that's irrelevant to still distract you from all the people that might be doing good or people that do fight for us. But they want to show us all these female rappers and male rappers and how they doing each other wrong, all the beef, people dying, stuff like that. But they don't ever touch on the essence of who we are and how we can come together, because that's the most powerfulest thing that will ever happen if we can get out of that mindset of working together, or even partnering with Hispanics and blacks coming together and actually like thinking as one instead of bumping heads. Like shit will be over. But there's a lot more work to be done. And back to like ten basically everything I'm trying to say right now is just like, for me to be sitting here to even be talking about this freely and to have nothing happen to me is because everybody before me, they did their part and they was willing to put their life on the line. And there's still people right now willing to put their life on the line. And you got certain comedians, you got people on these social medias exposing the truth, and they trying their best. But at the same time, everything is still a perception, and it's been happening for so long, bro. And it's crazy. We don't really got no more OGs that's really gonna tell us about from back then to right now that are still alive, that are like getting into their 90s or 80s, and they can really sit down and tell us about all them times when they were niggas, you feel me? But it's still a blessing because they paved the way for us right now, or anybody in history who fought and stood up and been resilient. They were able to help me be able to speak about this right now. And I'm very appreciative. And being black is hard. Being a black man is hard. And everybody always has a different perception about the race and how we act, how we are, and being in public and everything, bro. Like it's just really crazy. But at the same time, I wouldn't trade this shit for nothing. It's the reason why God made me like this. It's the reason why God made us like this. And times are just changing, and maybe we'll get to a point now where we'll be able to actually express and show like how amazing we really are, man. At the end of the day, I feel like you can't deny history, and no matter how many times they try to make us forget or try to erase everything, proof is always going to be here. From all the pyramids that are left, for all the churches and temples and all these places I've been here before, a lot of this shit existed. Like, that's our proof, man. You know what I mean? And I feel like look, we've been the longest living race ever in history. When it comes to black people, we were one of the first people originated. Y'all gotta remember that the world